I've always been alone. I don't belong to any groups. I was a communist once, but that was mainly for company. I'm not a communist anymore. I'm alone. It's funny though, all my life no one ever wanted to listen to me. People always told me that I talk too much. Why you always talking, they say. You always talking, talking, talking. But now, they want to know all sorts of details. Very personal details.
Dimitri Standifos is known worldwide for killing Dr. Hendrik Verrill, architect of the apartheid movement after the passage of the Immorality Act, which made it illegal to marry across racial lines. Although his actions helped out many groups and political groups in his country, he was shunned by all. When asked what his motives was, he provides us with this. Living in Strange Lands by Dimitri Standifos.
I've got German, Greek, Portuguese, Mozambique, and I don't know what else in me. So I've looked like a different person in different parts of the world. The trouble with this sort of arrangement is that now neither the blacks nor the whites want anything to do with me. I'm not in their group anymore. I'm not one of their people. And it's this bloody group nonsense anyway. Why does the group even matter? You see, Dr. Hendrick was always going on about purity and how things should stay the same, how one shouldn't mix races. But purity is like incest, isn't it? It makes you sick, weak, and deformed. The trouble of being whatever colored has always caused me problems in my life. Because before I was classified as colored because of my mother. But I got it to be changed to a white classification because of my schooling at Transbo. See now, everything would have been good except Helen happened. She was so beautiful. I met her in a group who I can talk to about the Bible. They were called the Church of Christ group, perhaps the first invisible group that I found myself being able to connect with. It was through them that I started talking to Helen. We used to write each other every few weeks and then every day. It felt like we had so much to say to each other. So one day, after I prayed about it, of course, I decided I'll propose to her. Yeah, can you believe it? In the letter, I asked her to marry me. And then arrived this long envelope from Cape Town, and in it was one word on a single piece of paper. Yes. Yes, can you believe it? I asked her to marry me in a letter and she said yes. So I packed my bags and arrived at Cape Town full of confidence to meet Helen. But the day grew long and Helen hadn't arrived yet. And I began to think maybe they must have gotten stuck somewhere. And the night came and they still weren't here, and I began to think maybe they had forgotten about me. I didn't have anywhere to be in Cape Town. Where could they be? But as it turns out, Helen didn't forget about me. And she was waiting for me at a different platform because, believe it or not, Helen was colored just like my mother. Now, there was this question of me with my white identity being able to marry a colored woman. I told them it was no problem, really just a matter of paperwork, because as I said before, I was colored and got it changed to white. And I will handle that paperwork quickly. So while I was waiting for my appointment at the Department of Home Affairs, I thought to myself, why? Why must I now get a paper that says colored white or whatever the hell they want to call it? Or why can't I just have an open identity? I thought this was a reasonable solution, so when it was my turn, I explained to the man as clearly as I can. And he just stood there, staring at me. He began to pat on his head like this, and he asked me if I wanted to cause any trouble. And I said, no, sir, of course not. You see, in order to have a good job, I need to be white, but
to marry the woman that I love, I need to be colored. And I explained it just like that, thinking maybe he might understand me. I stood there in 15 minutes of silence and he didn't say anything. And when I got up to leave, I can hear him from behind me go, "Now, why would anyone want to fuck a maid?" I couldn't say anything to him, so I just ran. And the whole time that I was running, these images kept on popping into my head about my mother and how she might have loved my father, but they couldn't be together because of this whole color classification thing. And about Helen. I never saw her again. My one love, my one hope in this world. And the thing that I regret the most is that I never even got to kiss her. One day I woke up and I saw the stream of light coming in from the window. And I realized that my fears were gone. And I realized that I was suffering because of my mother, because of Helen, and because of me. Because one man in this country had decided to tell us who we were supposed to be. One man in this country had decreed for us to be in groups. One man in this country split us apart and we couldn't do anything about it. And we called that man Dr. Hendrik Vero. I knew he was way too powerful, and in order to stop him, it called for a sacrifice. And that sacrifice I was going to take. The shops, they refused to sell me a gun on the accounts that I needed a permit. So I bought 2 daggers and I placed them right here. And I had a very important message to deliver to Dr. Hendrik from Dimitri. When I arrived at Parliament, I remember the bells ringing. I remember the bells ringing as I followed him in. And I walked strong and bold. As I was walking, I began to reach for the knife and it was stuck. As I'm struggling with it, people are looking at me, but I don't care. I just keep on walking and walking. And finally, he sits down. I yank out the knife, push behind the blade, and go down, down, down. In the neck, in the shoulders, in the heart. Down, you freaking bastard! Why'd you take it from me, you bastard? Down! You know, all my life, I always felt like there was a reason why I was alone. And I think this was the reason. If I wasn't alone, I probably wouldn't have been able to get close to him. If I wasn't alone, I would have to think about my mother, and about Helen, and about my people. But no, I was alone. I was like a ship cut off with no anchor, just sailing up into a sea. An individual soldier with a private mission to fulfill his destiny. And no one was going to stop me. So yeah, this is the reason why I've always been alone.